Hey, what's up? This is Delio coming to you another video. And in this video, I want to talk about pad mix mode, which to me is a more efficient way for you to mix your sounds on the MPC because most of the time what I like to do when I'm working on the MPC is I like to select the individual sound, and then what I do is I'll go select the sound right here, turn it up and turn it down, or go to this mixer and try to turn it up and turn it down. But I want to just suggest to you a little bit more of an intuitive way to mix your sounds. It's called pad mix mode. So what pad mix mode does, or in this chance right here, I'm doing pad mix mode right here. And what happens is each one of your pads now gets to be turned up individually on here. And what I like to do, because in order to, most of the time when you try and select the sound while you're grooving, to turn it up and turn it down, because when you're dragging in sounds from the browser, sometimes they come in a little bit too hot. Sometimes they come in a little bit too quiet and you don't want to keep triggering while you're grooving. Well, this is more of a stealthy way to get that bird's eye view of what the levels are for your drum sound. So if I got a kick drum and a snare drum right here, and I'm bringing in a snare sample and it's coming in a little bit too hot, what I can do is I can drag it into this pad and then go to pad mix mode and select it. When I do that and I select pad mix mode, the main thing that is on volume. And I can turn that volume up and down right here no matter what. And if I want to go to pad 16 and turn it up and down, all I got to do is select it this way. But typically when you're touching a pad right here, triggering the sound. So if I don't want to trigger that sound, I can trigger the sound just by touching that pad section on the screen without triggering any sounds right here, which enables me to more stealthily make adjustments. So if you're performing live and you're like, okay, this is a little bit hot right here, I want to select the sound and I want to turn it up and down, I can do it that way. Because here's the thing. Normally what I like to do is like I'm in main mode and I'm pressing on the pads and I'm having a lot of fun and I'm jamming. And what do you got to do when you want to turn the sound up in pad mode? You could set your cue links, right? You could set your cue links to be volume control for your pad everywhere you go. But the problem is when you're dealing with edit mode and sample edit and program edit and sampler and step record, these cue knobs don't follow the context of what's going on the screen. So I'm in sampler mode or sample edit, and I need that sample to scrub the way I need it to. Well, if my cue knobs are locked in to that one function, I can't go ahead and trim in my sample right here, which is why I like to let these stay contextual. But in pad mix mode, now these cue knobs represent something different because Q-Link mode 1 right here, you select one pad or you select any of these pads, they're contextual to what's going on the screen. And so now, as you can see, if I don't turn the right Q knob, you don't see the volume go up and go down, which enables you to use your Q-Links more. And then as you get the muscle memory, you can switch between 1, 2, 3, 4 and go through all 16 pads. And obviously, if you want to go beyond your 16 pads, you got more banks. The same context applies to that. And I think this is the more efficient way. And here's another thing that I like to share with you, because now in pad mix mode, you can select your pan settings. You can pan your sounds left and right in your whole drone program right there from a bird's eye view. You can select your individual pad that you want to change and turn it up and down like that. Or in pad mode, now this knob is not your pan. Your main knob is now pan. Or you can also change your pan from the cue knobs depending on which row you have selected from those 4 notes. Side note is if you got an MPC X, you don't have to worry about that because the MPC X has 16 cue knobs all dedicated. So, which is cool because now you can mix all 16 sounds at the same time. And each pad is dedicated to its own knob for level, for pan. Same thing with mute. If I click on the mute tab, now if I turn it on or turn it off, I can turn my mutes on right here. I can tap it right there. Mute, unmute right there, and do a lot of different mute things right here. All this stuff can be automated. I don't like to automate my muting on the sequencer because it can get kind of complicated with the mutes. I do like muting tracks, doing mute groups or muting tracks from one sequence to another to indicate changes from like a verse to a hook to a bridge. But as far as recording mutes, you can do that. There's a vibe there. But know that the deeper you go, the more of a web you're weaving, and it's a little bit more work for me to come out of it if you've made a change you don't like versus trying to work with it another way. Same thing with sends and inserts and routing. So, for instance, if I'm in pad mix mode, and let's say you're using an audio interface that has 32 ins and 32 outs, and you want to go to an external analog mixer, well, you can do that, and see where everything's going from a bird's eye view here from pad mix mode instead of main mode, because main mode is only going to show you the parameters from one pad at the same time. But if you go to pad mix mode, now you see the parameters for 16 pads at the same time in your drum program, and now you can mix it how you want to mix it. So in this case, you got program, every sound here is going out to the program group, right? But let's say I want to bypass that, hook up our interface, go standalone mode, and have a lot of fun. Well, inside this mode, I could select that output, and now I got subgroup 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 through 8. I can go outputs 1 and 2 all the way up to outputs 31 and 32, because we know that if you have an audio, class compliant audio interface plugged into your MPC device, you can now use the I/O in there and route it in and out that way to a mixer. And then also you have 32 options if you just wanted to come out of one port or one jack at the same time. So in this case right here, we got outputs 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So what I could do, I could have 4 separate sounds go to outputs of 1, 2, 3, 4 on the back. Or if I had an audio interface, I can go 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, whatever. And you can see where everything's going right here in the pad mix mode. Also, the sends is a very interesting way to get everything more continuity, or to give yourself a little bit more continuity between all your sounds. And let me explain. So for instance, say a lot of times what I would do in FL Studio or even in MPC sometimes, if I'm in the groove and I just want to hear that effect immediately, I'll put that reverb on one sound and then a different reverb or the same reverb on another sound. And so now you got extra reverbs running on your computer, which takes more processing power. Most computers, it doesn't hurt, but you know, now you're dealing with 2 different presets from the same reverb that don't sound the same thing, which there is no rule if you want to have 2 different presets. But I know that for a more unified, less muddy mix, one reverb handling everything is a little bit more efficient, one delay. So in the insert section of the pad mix mode, I can put say a delay on insert 1 and then a reverb on insert 2. And so when I go to that individual pad, I can select inserts 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I could say, okay, I want this pad, this kick drum to get a little reverb. I want the snare to have a lot of reverb. And now you're mixing like you would an analog console from the screen, which is to me a very intuitive way to get your effects to go. And it takes a little bit of time to do this and remind this. And I'll be honest with you, for a long time I wasn't really messing with the pad mix mode because I was like, I gotta groove. I just, if I'm gonna go to a pad. But the problem is that with pad mix mode, you're exposed to so many more options than you would get from the main screen when you want to get down to the nitty-gritty of the mixing of your pads. So to me, this is a more efficient way if you want to mute a sound or select a sound. And another thing is, and I haven't mentioned this already, is that you can trigger sounds by selecting them in pad mix mode. But if you don't want to hear that, or like say you got a live performance going on and that sample's coming a little bit too high, you don't want to keep triggering that sample, so you can turn it down, especially if you know what pad it's at. All you got to do is tap it on the screen, and whatever pad you tap on the screen, you're going to select and be able to adjust the level without triggering the sound. And now you're mixing, now you're grooving. Okay, now you got that big knob turning that sample up and down from here, or from your Q knobs, and you're turning it up and down right there, which enables you a little bit more efficiency and to make more subtle movements, especially if you're performing live or just working with collaborating people in the studio while they're grooving. You're not, you know, they're grooving and hearing a song, next thing you know, you're triggering your snare, like, and you're trying to mix it up and down. You know, so that's a tip right there. If you like this type of stuff, let me know in the video comments below. If you want more tips about the MPC or tutorials and other platforms, let me know. I'm Delio. You're watching the Delio T2K YouTube channel. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you later. Peace out.